So, for today's discussion, my assigned topic that I'm going to discuss is all about instruments group. Then, there are three types of instruments group, which are orchestra, band, and rondelia. So, what is orchestra? The term orchestra derives from the Greek orchestra, the name of the area in the front of a stage in ancient theatre reserved for the Greek chorus. Orchestra also is a large instrument and symbols typical of classical music which combines from different families including bowed instrument, woodwinds, brass instrument, percussion instrument. The first is bowed instrument. These instruments have hollow sound backs across which nylon, wire, or gut string are stritten. These strings are made to vibrate by means of a horsehair bow. Example of bowed instruments: violin, viola, cello, and lastly is double bass. Second is woodwinds. They are found behind the string choir in an orchestra. They are sounded by blowing into them, though setting a column of vibrating. The instruments of the woodwind family consist of tubes, usually made of wood, which have holes on the side. The example of these are flute, clarinet, and bassoon. Next is brass instrument. All of brass instrument consist of cylindrical brass tube of varying length. This tube is either double on itself or coiled for easy handling and expand into a bell-shaped end. And the example of brass instruments are horn, trumpet, trombone, and tuba. And the last is percussion instrument. The complete set of percussion includes an instrument that is sound by striking, shaking, or scratching with the hands or with another object. These instruments are used to emphasize the rhythm, generate excitement to the orchestral sound. And the example are timpani, snare drum, bass drum, cymbals, triangle, tambourine, and so on. Orchestra are usually led by a conductor who directs the performance with movements of the hands and arms, often made easier for the musician to see by use of conductor's baton. The conductor unifies the orchestra, sets the tempo, and shapes the sound of ensemble. The conductors also prepares the orchestra by leading rehearsals before the public concert, in which the conductors provides instruction to the musician on their interpretation of the music being performed. The leader of the first violin section, commonly called the concertmaster, also plays an important role in leading the musician. In the Baroque music era, orchestras were often led by the concertmaster or by a chord-playing musician performing the basso continuo parts on a harpsichord or pipe organ, a tradition that some 20th century and 21st century early music ensembles continue. Amateur orchestras include those made up of students from elementary school or a high school youth orchestras and community orchestras, the latter two typically being made up of a mature musician from a particular city or region. So now let's tackle about band. Band from the Middle French bandy or troupe. In music, an ensemble of musicians playing chiefly woodwind, brass, and percussion instruments. In contradistinction to an orchestra, which contains stringed instruments. The word band was wide vernacular application from generalized usage, as in dance band and jazz band, to the very specific, as in harmonica band, brass band, and band. The term was first used in England to apply the King's Band of 24 violins at the court of Charles the. In German, musicians joined foreign groups, and wind bands spread eventually through France and England to the New World. Toward the end of 18th century, in the wake of the Turkish occupation of large parts of Eastern Europe, a style of band music identified as Turkish or Janissary music, and also this became popular across the continent. In England, the brass band, sometimes called silver band, referring to the metal alloy of many instruments, began to replace the earlier band of the town, or waits, public musician, and of village churches at the end of the 18th century. In the Philippines, Filipino music is becoming popular around the world. These bands have paved the way to popular rock and regional Pinoy music or OPM in the Philippines today. This is a comprehensive list of the best and most iconic Filipino bands in the Philippine music industry. So the first famous band in the Philippines is Eraserheads. Genre alternative rock, pop, experimental, original Pinoy music or OPM. So year formed in 1989. Then labels BMG Musico, Sunny BMG Music Entertainment. Fact about Eraserhead. Eraserhead is one of the most successful Filipino rock bands. This band is sometimes dubbed the Beatles of the Philippines. They are also considered one of the most influential and significant bands in the Philippines music industry. Next is Parochian Idcar. So the genres is alternative rock, pop punk, experimental, novelty, rap, funk, original, and OPM. Then the year formed in 1993. Facts about Parochian Edgar. Parochian Edgar is a famous Filipino rock band in the Philippines. They were known for the original pop, rock, and novelty bands, rather song. The Pinoy rock band draws inspiration from many rock bands. Parochian Edgar is hailed as the national band of the Philippines. So the next is River Maya. The genre is standard rock and hard rock. Then year formed in 1994. So fact about River Maya. River Maya is one of the most influential Filipino rock bands in the country's history and is considered one of the best-selling OPM artists in the Philippines. River Maya also was nominated for the Favorite Artist Philippine Award at the MTV Asia Awards 2004, then won the Favorite Artist Philippines Award in the following year. So now let's discuss about rondalia. The rondalia is an ensemble string instrument played with the plectrum or pick and generally known as plectrum instrument. It originated in medieval Spain, especially in the ancient crown of Aragon, Catalonia, Aragon, Murcia, and Valencia. The tradition was later taken to Spanish America and the Philippines. The word rondalia is from the Spanish ronda, meaning serenade. So the history of rondalla. The rondalla has its origin in the folk playing bands from Spain that were forerunners for the present-day rondalla and included four types: groups of young men who played the song regularly in front of homes, bands of musicians known as morza or morga who beg four arms, a group of musicians known as comparsa who played on stage, and groups of university musicians known as estudiantina dubbed tuna. Rondellas in Spain, Mexico, and the United States. Today, rondellas are more modern and expressive, using the lyrics that are vibrant, yet still keep with the traditional theme of melancholy, love, and evening serenades. In rondalla in the Philippines, the rondalla, also called rondalia, was introduced to the Philippines when it was part of the Spanish East Indies. In the early Spanish period, certain styles were adopted by the natives, especially guitarra and bandurria, used in pandango. The jota and the polka, the use of the term comparsa was common. However, during the American period, the term rondalla became more used. The introduction of the Filipino rondalla piece is very similar to the introductory tones found in Aragon. Presently, the term in Filipino culture refer any group of string instruments that are played using the plectrum or pick. The Filipino instruments are made from indigenous Philippine wood and using wood, and plectrum or picks are traditionally made from tortoise shell. The Philippine Rondalla basic repertoire includes folk songs such as the Color de Sampaguita, La Bella Filipina, and Note Vallas sa Zamboanga, as well pieces from the types Balitaw, Condiman, and the Harana, pieces for the Zarzuela, and accompaniment for dances such as the Subli, Tinikiling, and Carinyosa.